The word entrepreneurship comes from French, and the French invented the concept of business school. Sure, Wharton, Tuck can claim to be the oldest schools in the US, but emlyon Business School has been around for over 150 years. And the ESSEC Business School on the outskirts of Paris was founded many years before Harvard introduced the MBA 101 years ago. So it's no surprise that France is one of the top destinations for an international MBA experience. I'm just waiting for that Netflix episode when Emily goes back to business school. So to find out more about studying an MBA in France, I'm joined by students, graduates from EM Lyon and ESSEC Business School. It's a pleasure to welcome Domagoj Hart from the class of 2026. He studied electrical engineering at the University of Zagreb in Croatia and enjoyed a successful early career with the Supergrid Institute. Aishwarya Ganesh studied at ESSEC and graduated last year. She had originally studied media studies and brought that creative mindset to brand management. Artist, digital ad girl, and a lover of to-do lists who now works in e-commerce for the L'Oreal brand Garnier. Welcome, both of you. Aishwarya, that was just a very short story and you love to-do lists. Tell us about that, and of course, your personal journey that led you to doing the MBA at ESSEC.
So for me, I started my career in 2016. I was studying media and then I wanted to do advertising. I've always been super passionate about brands, about marketing, about advertising. So 2016 to 2023, I worked in agencies, advertising agencies. And to be honest, MBA was always part of the plan. I wanted to shift from advertising into corporate marketing, like join a brand and then like make an impact there. So so then I decided to do an MBA at the time where I felt like it was going to have most value for me. And and then did an internship at L'Oreal right after it got over, and then converted the internship into a full-time role. So that's been my journey.
Great. And Domagoj, working on super grids and big infrastructure
Yeah.
research, like Aishwarya, was business school always in the back of your mind, or something more recent?
So business school was in my mind since the masters because I realized, engineers are very specific in their field, in their technical knowledge. And then after you spend 5 or 10 years in the field, you are promoted to this manager of 10 people, and all of a sudden you need completely different set of skills than, to do studies on your computer. And I've seen and I've heard a lot of bad experiences with people who were managed by people not having the correct set of skills. And I just wanted to prepare myself in a way for the future. So for me, it was always in the back of my mind, and I knew I needed some professional experience. So then, I decided to get some experience and then apply for the MBA at the right time.
Aishwarya, I was fortunate to interview the now chairman, former CEO of L'Oréal, Jean-Paul Agon, who himself went to business school and said, it just gave this wonderful platform and a confidence. As you were thinking about pursuing an MBA, it's a big step. It's a big investment in time and in money. How did you decide that it was the right step for you, and then choosing ESSEC?
Well, of course, I did a lot of research on, what is because I did my undergraduation and then it was an MBA directly. I didn't do a master's in the middle. I worked in the middle. I did a lot of research on if I have to do an MBA, what do I need to be prepared with? And for me, I realized that the typical experience level of an MBA classroom is very different from a master's. So for me, I decided the time based on when I had evolved in my career to a point where I would be able to contribute and also understand, like what he was talking about, which is managing a team. You need to have a little bit of experience, even if it's a little bit, in managing people or in being in those positions so that you can sharpen those skills and realize your strengths and weaknesses before you get into it. So, which is why I decided that, okay, MBA is definitely what I want to do. And then specifically when it comes to ESSEC, again, for me, the location, the where I'm doing my MBA was also super important. I decided Europe because I didn't want a very long break in my career. I did not want to do a 2-year MBA, and Europe is one of the places that offers, the quicker programs. It's intense, but it's still like I will be able to go back to work in a period of about 1 year. So that's why I chose, I started like looking at places within Europe, and ESSEC specifically, it has a very tailored program. I did something called the strategy and digital leadership like track. There were 2 tracks at my time. And there was luxury brand management and SDL, strategy and digital leadership. And the things that they were offering in terms of course, in terms of next steps in your career, it really aligned with exactly where I wanted to be.
Right.
So that's how I made the decision.
Domagoj, we'll talk about a technical background all the way through to your master's. Now, you've chosen the gastronomic capital of France and probably then the world, but also a place, lots of ties to dynamic industry, but the early makers of Lyon. And I think the incubator at the school has been around for over 40 years. So what was it that drew you to France and to EM Lyon specifically?
Honestly, it was more mountains than gastronomy, right? I'm a big lover of mountains, and Lyon is the big city placed close to the Alps, so there's unlimited possibilities there. And I mean, I chose Lyon purely by chance because I was offered the internship by my professor at the end of the studies, and it was in Lyon, which turned out to be a hub for renewable energy and power systems engineering. So my first company was there, as you mentioned, Supergrid Institute, and then June last year, I was recruited by Art International, which is part of or subsidiary of a French transmission system operator. So they had to create a subsidiary to do international consulting. So I'm still in the power engineering field and I'm still in Lyon. So, and then maybe how I choose my program is so first Lyon chose me in a way, and then I started looking at MBAs. And first I wanted to get some professional experience to see, do I still, because you have certain idea when you're a student, right? You're finishing school and then you start working and a lot of things can change. So first I wanted to get professional experience, talk to people who did the MBA before me. And then, they told me in a way that if you want to learn about like deep understanding of economics, you should do a economics master's degree. And on the other hand, if you want to build yourself as a leader, build a strong network by meeting amazing people, then you should go for MBA, right? So MBA is all about networking and strategical thinking, and this is exactly what I needed. So then how I chose EM Lyon is that when I decided I really want to do an MBA, I like what I see in the industry. I started Googling best MBA programs. I looked at different school rankings and then of course prices of programs because I had a maximum price cap I was in position to pay. So slowly my focus narrowed down on EM Lyon, which was luckily in the same city I was living in. So it was, I would say, the perfect match. So I scheduled my first call with the recruiting manager. This was back in 2022, end of 2022. I talked to the recruiting manager. I asked a lot of questions I had, like, do I fit? How do you see my vision, right? Aligned with the school's vision. And then I took some time to ponder, and then in 2023 I decided it's time to pull the trigger. I called the recruiting manager again. Hello, it's me. I've decided, and yeah, I went through the process and I was accepted. So EM Lyon was my first and only choice, I would say, in a way.
Right. Finding the right school, finding the right community. Aishwarya, you're giving the example of strategic digital leadership, specific programs that really aligned with the career trajectory that you were pursuing. And then you arrive in the program and meet all of your classmates that will have their own objectives and, curiosity. What was it like meeting the rest of your MBA class and alumni that you've met at ESSEC?
To be honest, when I just came in, because I had worked in a specific industry for so many years, and I was also moving countries. I was living in India before, and then I moved to France, which is it's a big move.
Sure.
My initial few days were just like, I don't know what's going on, because there's somebody who's worked in like consulting, there's somebody who's pure finance, there's somebody who's had a very specific background in like constructions, and then there's, there are a few people in marketing. So I was honestly quite surprised at the start. But I think, and this was one of my most cherished things in this MBA, is that the anxiety I felt when I came in, and I was like, oh my God, everybody's got different backgrounds, and I don't know if I fit. And I, especially coming from a creative background, I did have doubts. Um, but over the year, it was wonderful the way that we all, like, the backgrounds kind of blurred, and we realized that we actually have a lot in common. Somebody that I worked with very closely used to work in IT. And in my life, I had never imagined that I would actually end up having so much in common with someone from an industry that I have never even thought of. So, yeah, definitely at the beginning, it's a lot to take in. But I think the beautiful thing about the way these programs are structured is that they know how to bring you on the same page, and they help you realize that, regardless of your career path, regardless of what you've done in the past, what you intend to do, there are certain learnings that, a leader is a leader, regardless of the background you come from or where you want to go. So that was honestly, initially, it was overwhelming, but eventually it was one of the most pleasant surprises for me.
Domagoj, you had relocated professionally and were getting to know the region, but perhaps suddenly becoming part of a school, not just with the MBA, but it's a grande école and a massive network. Does that really help you to build stronger ties and connections living in the city?
Yeah, I would say I talked recently about the same subject with one of the person from cohort because in school you have opportunity to meet a lot of people, right? When you're going through a bachelor's or master's, then you start working and your kind of options narrow down, right? You have your sports people or you have your work options, but then at some moment it gets exhausted, right? To meet fresh pair of eyes or to meet somebody else from another industry, it's very difficult. So I think MBA is wonderful opportunity for this. What she explained beautifully, like all these cultural and professional differences, they really blend in nicely, and you learn a lot from everybody.
Presumably both
And
in the
yeah,
classroom, but also, I mean, there are so many clubs and activities. You mentioned the mountains. Does that also then contribute to the personal learning journey and your own development?
yeah, I would say so. I mean, I'm part of the part-time, but I'm the lucky one, the only one who lives in Lyon. So I have access to the full-time MBAs, and I can spend the evenings and the afternoons with them. And I think this is the most important part, right? In class, you're all focused on class, but then after, when you meet people for being people, and another part I was the most surprised with in our leadership course at the beginning, it felt like a yoga retreat in a way. We are talking about our feelings and connection and stuff. But in the end, I think this is the most important part because this allows you to connect to your cohort and to really trust the people you work with, and then you work much better. So I would say, this is the real value of MBA for me, meeting people on a different level and meeting like-minded individuals who are in the same position as you, who are thinking the same, have the same aspirations, and yeah. So for me, this is the value.
Aishwarya, if we take you back to first day of class, you just moved to France from India, meeting all your classmates, and they say, well, here's the courses, and then the electives you can do, all these different clubs, and then there's Paris. Did you have to really prioritize as you think back? If you'd give advice to yourself, doing it all over again, the importance of prioritizing between so many options?
Absolutely. It's super important to prioritize, and what we spoke in the start, right? To-do lists or lists are super important, and that's just who I am. I think this is an advice that I would give other people. I did follow this, and it worked for me, which was that when I came for this program, sorry, which is that when I came for this program, I was fully present here. This was my priority. This is where, to be honest, the if you when you move to a new I'm so sorry. When you move to a new country, you have, you take your time with things. You're like, okay, I'm going to take some time to understand the culture, figure out things. I kind of deprioritized those things. I was like, it's fine. I know I can do this. For me, what's important is that I'm here. My academics are going to be 9 months long. And it's only 9 months long,
Mm.
which means that I absolutely will try my best to take as many courses as I can. Because after that, I have to go back to work anyway, and life's going to go back to the way it was. Um, so prioritizing is important, but more than that, I think the most important thing is to mentally make up your mind that you are giving these 9 months or however long, 1 year of your life, to do a program which is not easy, which is quite intense, which is going to challenge you. So you shouldn't look back. Just be here. If you have to struggle a bit, struggle a bit. If you'll have your highs, you'll have your lows, but just be present and try to make the most. I mean, I personally took electives that I know for a fact that I'm never going to use in my life. But I also know that I'm never going to get the opportunity to learn. For example, I did a course on environmental economics,
Mm.
which in my specific field is not so relevant. But I was like, when am I going to get this opportunity ever again? So prioritization is important, but really make up your mind that when you're here, make the most of it. It will get over so quickly, and very few people get this chance. So
On your to-do list, Aishwarya, in terms of post-MBA career, I don't know if you had L'Oreal and digital e-commerce, that's what's come next. But how did the ESSEC career management team work with you to think about and prepare next steps of your career development?
Well, to be honest, in my ESSEC MBA essay submission, I had very specifically written that I would like to work at L'Oreal. So this was definitely a very specific goal that I wanted to achieve. Um, ESSEC has ESSEC comes with a lot of really good relationships with companies that I'm also super interested in. They have great relationships in luxury, and in multiple industries. But for me, we have something called the Talent Center, which is essentially the career services, and they honestly helped us from day one. Like from the day that we really started, they explained to us what is it that they can provide. And one of the best things they have done for us is that they let us explore. During the course of my MBA, there was this one point, I think in the second semester, where we had a lot of consulting courses, and I was convinced that I wanted to now be a consultant. I was like, yeah, I'm 100% sure this is the field for me. And then the third semester, I was like, oh, maybe I should do something with sustainability because it's so exciting. So you do go through that whole process, but what career services helped me with was to allow me to explore, but at the same time, make sure that I'm streamlining my thinking. I'm not losing visibility on my goal. I'm not allowing, like they give you a blank canvas, but there are boundaries. They tell you that, okay, we still need to get you an internship. You still have to do this. So I think a huge support system to give you perspective on what beyond the courses and what beyond the academics, because you could get lost in that okay, I just want to ace this course and that's it.
Yeah.
But they really helped a lot
Yeah.
from day one. And they
We,
still do. In fact, even post getting a job, I'm still in touch with them. The way they work is even with alumni, they're connected. I know that for my life, I will always have that team to kind of, just get advice from if I need to get some mentorship, etc. So
yeah.
definitely super helpful for me.
Incredible support network. And Domagoj, of course, you're able to bring theory, ideas, testing, different concepts back to your work with RTI. Do you feel that it's both enhancing your performance at work, but also not just for now, but for 5, 10 years from now? How's it planning for those subsequent stages of your personal leadership journey?
Yeah, so I mean, I was lucky enough to change jobs 3 months before starting an MBA. And during the hiring process, I was very clear that I want my professional and personal aspirations or growth wishes to be aligned with the company, and that we can grow together, right? That I will have the right amount of support in the company or access to people I want to have access to. So if I want to take 1 hour coffee with my manager and ask him, how did you decide to make this? Or can we directly implement my learnings in my day-to-day job? And they were very open to it. So this was one of my criteria to find work.
Mm.
And I see myself growing with the company, and I have the all the support I need internally, and this has been really amazing so far because whatever I learn in school, I can directly apply to work, and I can ask or I can propose this to my higher ups, right? Or they can assist me based on their professional experience, how they handle problems that we learn about in school. So it's been really like you learn it on Monday, you apply it on Friday, and it's really amazing on this sense.
Yeah. And
And
just
yeah.
you commented earlier sessions that you'd had that were, very personal, almost, sharing vulnerability, like a yoga retreat, I think, as you said.
Yeah.
In terms of what you'd expected, technical hard skills that the program would develop, have you also observed in yourself, and perhaps it was unexpected, um, th intangibles, self-confidence, the language of business that you're now able to use with colleagues at work? Have there been things that have surprised you? Look what I've just developed.
Yeah, I think this is the biggest surprise. And for us, leadership course lasts for a year. And to pass the course, you need to write the report at the end. How did you change as a leader from beginning to end? So I started to think about it. How can I do this in a year? It's very difficult to perceive. So I wrote down how would I fail to change, right? If I don't do certain stuff. So the idea was to grow as much as I can and to apply as much as I can what I learned. And exactly this, like in work, you don't take these sessions to deeply connect with your colleague, right? You do the meetings, you do the performance reports, and you move on. And we really took the time to get to know each other, and I think this has been the biggest surprise. And then you really understand, like if you connect on a more human level, then professionally you work much better, right? And you understand each other's weaknesses or strengths, and then you can utilize them in the best way you can.
Well, I'm impressed that you've already started working on a report that you need to deliver many months from now. It makes perfect sense. But Aishwarya, that sense of unexpected, or a moment in the program or with your community that had real impact. Was there like an aha moment or a wow moment that you enjoyed during the ESSEC MBA?
There were a lot of moments. I mean, all of us as a cohort, we had a lot of opportunities to bond. I mean, of course, through school, we visited a lot of companies. We had different projects to do outside together, so we definitely bonded. But one aha moment where maybe all of us were super proud and super surprised at where how far we've come was towards the end, I think the last semester, if I remember correctly, towards the last semester, we had something called a digital week competition, where we had a few companies, some of the top companies from France. We had Capgemini, we had Accenture come in with real briefs for us, and we were split into these teams, and we had to solve like a problem, and they were of different kinds. Something was in marketing, something was in finance, something was in something else, and we got just 1 week, which is 1 week means 5 working days, to you know like come up with a solution, work with the mentors that we were assigned, and to make a presentation at the end of the week. And it was a competition, of course, so we were all competing in groups against each other. But the quality that we saw of presentations towards the end, I mean, for us, that was a moment like when that got over, we were all so happy because we could see like somebody that, in the first semester, let's say, was not very comfortable with making presentations, the way that they have delivered something, or somebody who is not very comfortable with finance, they are actually talking about the accounting bit. For us, that entire week, it was super intense. We worked all week, but at the end of it, all of us were just so happy and so surprised and so proud of each other that we've come a very long way. We could see it there was proof in the growth that we as a cohort had managed to do.
Well, there's such a tangible demonstration, Aishwarya. Perhaps just a final thought. Our viewers that are in a position that you were in, think about next steps in your personal and professional development, the MBA Business School. So what advice would you give someone, considering to do an MBA and perhaps the ESSEC Business School MBA in particular?
Um, well, I would say that when you start, the first time you think that, okay, I want to do an MBA, from that point on until you join or you select a program, I think it's super important to do a good amount of self-reflection. Um, it's not purely 100% about rankings. It's not about the reviews that you're getting on the website. Those things are important, 100%. But your first step should be to self-reflect, to understand what is it that you want out of a program. Why are you doing this? It's heavy financial investment, it's heavy time investment, it's you putting yourself in a challenging position. So I think that would be the first thing. And specifically with ESSEC, I think it's a program that's very focused on growing you as a leader. There's an entire bouquet of things they offer. The career services are very strong. It's a boutique MBA, as we call it, which is that the class size is quite limited. We don't have, hundreds of people. And that was one of my parameters for joining ESSEC, which is that I wanted something a bit more personalized where I don't feel lost in a crowd. Um, so I think it's important to reflect on what you want and then look for schools that align with it. For me, it was ESSEC, and definitely that's probably the advice I would have.
You said earlier, Domagoj, Leon found you, and the more that you looked at the program, that there's so many things aligned. And I guess our viewers are trying to make those same alignments, the right place, the right program, the right time. So
Yeah.
again, final words, your advice to anybody thinking about business school and EM
Yeah, so for me, it's a very similar answer. So for me, it's do it for yourself, right? Know what you want and then find the best way to get what you want. And if you're not interested in MBA in strategy and leadership, then don't do the MBA because they're not cheap. As she said, it's a lot of money, a lot of time invested there. So if you don't have the motivation, especially if you do a part-time, the whole cohort I'm with, we are all motivated individuals. So you finish your workday at 6 or 7 in the evening, then you need to come home and you need to change the mindset and work on do school work. If you don't have this internal drive and interest in the MBA and the program, then don't do it. So be clear, do self-inspection, be clear about what you want, what you're interested in, and what you want to do with the rest of your day after you come home. So if you're interested, I mean, go ahead and it's amazing. You will have the support of the school, the support of your cohort. And why emlyon? Again, for me, I did self-reflection. It aligned with my career goals. It aligned with my values. And also what was important to me to see that the school is growing in rankings. What she said, it's not important to be the top 2 or 3, but the school is constantly improving. And this year, we are what you see behind on my background. We are the first cohort on the new campus, which is amazing, and they're constantly improving the program. The value for the money is definitely there. It's going to increase even more. There are constant feedback sessions, so start from yourself and then look outwards, I would say.
Well, whether viewers, if you're making a to-do list, if you're making a
Yeah.
decision with your heart or with your head, decisions are making informed decisions. And I think, both of you have shared so much insight, so much enthusiasm about the experiences. It was clearly the right programs for you, and that's wonderful to see. So thank you. Thank you for joining us at Centre Court to share that and helping our viewers to take their next steps. I hope they will be as successful as both of yours were. So Aishwarya, Domagoj, thank you very much indeed.